covered the pregame, and pregame really starts when you accept your assignment. That's when the pregame starts for you. Because you gotta put it in your calendar. You gotta dedicate the time for it. You need to call your partner, make any kind of travel arrangements you might have together, what time you're gonna meet at the site. And so the pregame starts early. It's not just game day. But on game day, which I'm gonna basically deal with today, starts when you arrive at the field. You need to be there at least 30 minutes early. Because once you get there, even if you're dressed, if you come dressed, which most of us do, you don't have to, but if you don't, you're gonna have to allow that time to start from the very beginning on putting on your equipment. I usually go and I don't have everything on. I don't have my equipment on it, my plate equipment. I don't have my bags on. I don't have my shirt on, but I have everything else on. And then, so when I get there, whether I'm going to be in the field or whether I'm going to be behind the plate, I can then put those on. Typically, if you have a double header, you switch up. So you just need to allocate the time when you get to the site to leave yourself enough time. So at 15 minutes prior to game time, so if game time is at 4 o'clock, you're able to walk out on the field and you're dressed and you have everything that you need to begin the game. So when you first get out on the field, when you get out there, well, before you go to the field, as soon as you get to the field, let the home coach know that you're there. So they don't worry about it, because you may be out in the parking lot somewhere and they're not able to see you. So let them know that you're there, you're present, so they don't worry about and start trying to call people to get the umpires there. So let them know, then go back and get ready. And then allow yourself enough time so you can go on the field and be there 15 minutes prior to game time. Now when you get in there, and somebody asked last week, I can't remember who it was, do we inspect the equipment, do we inspect the field? Well, this is your opportunity when you go on the field. We don't have to inspect the team's equipment, the bats and all of that anymore, but you need to inspect the field. You need to look at the backstop. You need to look at the gates going down the sides of the field, so you can determine what dead ball areas or problem areas you might encounter. Prior preparation prevents poor performance. So if you're prepared when you walk up to your coach's meeting, you can express those concerns that you have if they're not covered in the ground rules. Some of the biggest concerns is how you play the ball off of the dugouts. For instance, Lauderdale County sometimes has a 2-story dugout. Are you going to play it off the high part where the press box is, or are you going to play it to a certain level? Those things need to be ironed out before you start the game, so you don't get into a situation where somebody thinks it's a live ball and somebody thinks it's a dead ball. Or you don't kill a ball that should have been killed, then you've got to start putting runners back in place. So you're out on the field, you need to look at those things. What I do when I walk out on the field, if I'm carrying water, and I usually carry water, take it up and put it at the backstop. I check the backstop while I'm there if I'm the plate umpire. If I'm the field umpire, I go out on the first base line and I check that fence going down through there, looking for holes, making sure the gates are closed, and put my water there. So when I then walk up to the coaches meeting that we have, I'm prepared. I'm not trying to mess with a bottle of water. I'm not standing there drinking a bottle of water during the coaches meeting. It's your opportunity to make a good impression on this coach. And you need to be prepared, and you need to be professional. You need to be professionally dressed. You don't want to walk up to the coaches meeting with your hat on backwards. You don't want to walk up to the coaches meeting with wrinkled pants, with dirty ball bags, with dirt all over your shoes, with a shirt that has brown collar. You want to walk up there like this is the first game of the year and your uniform looks that way. So you're prepared. The other thing that you need to do is when you come, you'll have your indicator, you'll have your plate brush, and you need to come prepared with a lineup card holder. Because the coaches are gonna give you a lineup, and you need to be able to store and protect that lineup. So when changes are made, or there's a question about the lineup from the coaches, you can go to your lineup card, it's been protected, it's not wrinkled, and it's easy accessible. Now, here's some tips, is get you some clips. So when coach gives you the lineup card, that's the real lineup card from last year. One of my last games, and this is what they give you. They're gonna fill out carbon copies. Make sure you get the top copy, the original copy. So when you get that, and after you go over that, and the lineups become official, you can put it back in your holder. And if you have a little clip, you can clip it, you can fold it where it fits in there, and put it in your ball bag. Don't use your pocket. Don't fold it up. Don't fold up the papers, the lineup cards, put them in your back pocket. Don't use this pocket. Nothing should ever be in your pocket. The other tip is have a colored pen. So when changes are made, you can see they're usually going to fill that out with a black pen. If you have a colored pen, you can make your changes and they're easily identifiable. Okay, so get you a colored pen. You might take 2 or 3 just to have in your ball bag so you can make those changes. So come to your plate meeting prepared. When you're there, the positioning is the plate umpire stands behind home plate facing the outfield. The field umpire stands on the other side facing the home umpire, the plate umpire. And the 2 coaches stand to the sides. When you first get there, before you come to that meeting, stop all play. Stop all warm-ups. When you get there and you walk out on the field probably 15 minutes before, you're going to be shagging fly balls, they may be hitting infield, pitchers are going to be warming up. Before you have your plate meeting, all of that needs to stop. So when you have your plate meeting, all the players are in their dugout or in front of the dugout. Nobody's throwing balls, nobody's hitting balls. If pitchers are warming up, they need to be outside the fence. Nobody can be in the fenced area inside the field warming up. Okay, so stop that. Don't have the meeting while that's going on. And coaches understand that.
Most of them.
Most of, we do have some new ones, but you just have to train them.
You just have to holler at them.
You just have to train
Don't
them.
stop.
So when you come to your coaches meeting, and I like to have the coaches meeting 5 minutes before game time, sometimes 10 minutes before game time, just depending on what the field looks like and whether it's a new coach or not, just so we're able to cover anything that needs to be covered and answer questions. The person who comes to that coaches meeting, the adult representing that team at the coaches meeting, is the head coach for that game. So if it's a junior high game, for instance, and the junior high coach comes to the coaches meeting, the junior high coach is the head coach. And sometimes the varsity head coach will help the JV coach. Well, that head coach during that game has no authority to question, to come to discuss anything about the game with you. It's the person who comes to the coaches meeting is the designated head coach for that game. If 2 adults come, clarify which one's the head coach. If 2 coaches, if the varsity and the JV coach come up, both of them, verify who the head coach is. Because only the head coach can approach you as an official. That's the only one that can come and talk to you if they have a question about a rule interpretation, or if they have a question about a pulled foot, anything like that, they're the one that that can do it. Sometimes coaches, the home team during regular season games has to provide the game balls to keep the games going. During tournaments, usually each coach will provide a game ball. Well, as umpires, it's our responsibility to inspect the ball and make sure that the game ball have these designations. They have to have the compression, they have to have the core, and they have to have the federation insignia on them. If they don't have those, that can't be the game ball. And all game balls have to be the same. For instance, I think they're about to change the compression and the core. A new one becomes mandatory in 25. So they could use either one this season, but whichever one it is, all the balls have to be that same. Have to be the same. They can't go back and forth with it. During the course of the game, if any of those things disappear from the ball, you need to get rid of the ball. The ball has to have those on them at all times. So at the coaches meeting, usually they bring those softballs to the coaches meeting. If I'm the plate umpire, I usually take that and give to my field umpire and ask them to check that while I'm doing the inspection of the lineup cards. Okay, but that's our responsibility to take care of those balls. Let me talk about the mask. And what I'm sharing with you is what I've been taught over the 20 plus years I've been calling softball. You should never, when you're having your plate meeting, go lean your mask up against the backstop or lay it on the ground. You should always hold it. So if I'm holding that meeting as a plate umpire and I've got my mask, I'm putting it under my arm, and I can do everything that I need to do with it right there. Okay, so just keep that in mind. The other thing I will say is we're talking about face masks, and I'm dressed as we should be dressed. This is the official uniform that we would wear. This is a plate hat. You can see it has a short bill. You need that. I would recommend you get that. At least they also make a combo hat that has a little longer bill, but when you take that mask on and off, if it gets hung in the bill, there goes your hat. And now you're running around trying to make a call with your hat somewhere. So as you buy equipment, make sure that you get a plate hat, or I'd recommend that you do that. So now we come to our plate meeting. First thing we do is introduce ourselves. I usually introduce myself and tell them my full name. As I shake their hand and introduce, they will tell me their full name. And I do that with each coach. During the course of the game, in this pregame, make sure you address the coach as the coach and their last name. For instance, Lauderdale County's coach, his name is Trent Patterson. And I know Trent, but I will call him Coach Patterson. I know Clint probably is a good friend of James, Brad James, out at Culver Heights. You know, he needs to call him Coach James. Jill Green, who's been around for a long time, coaches Muscle Shoals. I know her well. She's Coach Green. Don't use first names. You know, sometimes we may call with people we go to church with, we may teach with them, we may socialize with them, but show them the respect and call them coach and their last name. The respect really starts at that meeting. How you conduct that meeting is how you're going to be perceived during the course of that game. And you want to be as professional and as concise as you can. You want to be approachable. But you don't want to be up there joking and telling jokes with the head coaches during the coaches meeting. So after that, after the introductions, and I'll say this, during the tournaments, it's during that time that I will flip the coin. Right after introductions, I flip the coin to determine the home team. Why do I do it then? So we determine who's home and who's away. So the home team, so those teams can then start getting their players ready to either go to the field or to get ready to bat. So when we're through with the coaches meeting, the players go to their spots and they know what's happening. So that's where during tournament time that I flip a coin. If you're doing a regular season game and you're at the location, there's no need to flip a coin. The home team and the visitor team has already been identified. So there's no need to flip that coin. So now the real purpose of the coaches meeting is to verify the lineup cards, give you an opportunity to clarify how the game is going to be conducted, and also go over any timing regulations that come into play. But the first thing we do is take the lineup cards. And what I do as a plate umpire, I always take the home team's lineup card first. So if I have both coaches standing there, I take the home team. Sometimes they'll both, I don't want to be handling a bunch of paper at one time, so I take the home team's card, they give it to me. And what are we looking for when they give you that lineup? Well, the lineup is your main managing tool. If there's a question that comes up during the game about who are the starters, who are the substitutions, when are changes made, who is batting in the right places, this is your only management tool. So it needs to be correct. And the state requires us to have certain things, and coaches need to do certain things with that lineup card. So when they fill this card out, they list their starters, and they have to have the first initial of the person's name, they have to have their last name, they have to have their jersey number, and they have to have what position they play. That's the starters. So you as a coach, for instance, this is Lauderdale County, when he handed me, immediately I marked the home, he was home team. So if there's any question, when I open my book, I can go here and I know I've got Lauderdale County and they're the home team. So I've marked him as the home team, he gives me his lineup card. The first thing that I look for is how many players does he have in the lineup as starters. He has 10 players listed on the lineup card. That automatically means he's playing with the DP flex. We'll cover DP flexes another time, because there's a whole set of rules that go with the DP flex. But you can look at that. The flex is always in the 10th position and will not bat. They're a defensive player. The DP, which he has listed here as the 8th player, is the batter. Those two are really tied together in what they can do. It's far more complicated than that. But anyway, when you look at this, you know that he's got 10 legal players as starters. He's going to play 10 players. As soon as I get the card, I've marked it as a home team. I've looked to make sure, and Coach Patterson, he listed their full first name. The other thing that they have to have on the lineup card is their substitutes have to be listed. Now the substitutes will have their first name, or first initial, and their last name and their jersey number. They're not in the game yet, so they don't have a position. No. But they have to be listed on the card. Preferably, those are listed at the bottom. Now, Coach Patterson, he has a form that he already has the people's names on. Already has the subs identified. The other thing that I do, in addition to marking the home, and as I look at this, I asterisk with my pen who the pitcher and the catcher are. Why is that important? Because only the pitcher and the catcher can have courtesy runners.
What?
Courtesy runners.
Okay.
Okay? So if a pitcher or catcher gets on base, they can have a courtesy runner come and run for them. Okay? So I designate those people. Now, on this particular card, Coach Patterson's pitcher is the flex. She won't bat. So I'm only gonna have one position where there's a courtesy runner. And that's the catcher. So when I look at this card, I make sure that there's no duplication of numbers. I make sure that he has all the information that we need. I give it back to him and ask him to go back over it. And at that point in time, then I take the visiting team's lineup card. And they give it to me. The first thing I look for is how many players they have. Well, on this particular, and this is Muscle Shoals, Coach Green only has 9 players. So she's not playing with the DP flex, right? She has 9 players. Each one of these players will play defense and each one of these players will bat. With the DP flex, they have 10 options to play defense, but only 9 players bat. So she's playing with just 9. She has the first initial, she has her last names, she has the numbers, their positions, she's listed her subs at the bottom. Sometimes coaches will list subs out to the side. As umpires, we don't want that. And if you get that, we want to ask them in the future to please list their subs at the bottom. Why is that important? Because as you progress during the game, any changes that are made, substitutions, courtesy runners, warnings, you will need that space out beside their name to make those notes and track what's happening during the game. Again, I mark the catcher and I mark the pitcher for courtesy runners. I make sure that there's no duplication of numbers, and I give the card back to her, Coach Green. So now both of the coaches have their original lineup cards. I ask them, are there any changes? Sometimes players have different jerseys, and if a coach can catch it, we need to change that number then. If during this period of time there's any changes, he can add players that aren't on here, he can change numbers, or she can change numbers. If there's any changes, do it right then. And if there are changes, make sure you do it on both lineup cards. Make sure if Coach Patterson has changes, make sure that Muscle Shoals also has those same changes. So both lineup cards will look the same. Okay, that's very important. So there's no confusion down the road if something happens. You know, most of us, it's easy calling balls and strikes and outs and safes. It's when we start to have these things with the lineup happen that we get in trouble if we don't track it like we should. So if there's no changes, I ask the coaches to give those back to me, and I say, coaches, these lineups are official and substitution rules are now in effect. From that point on, even if before we leave the coaches meeting, they make a change, I change it, but what happens? Coach gets a warning. So any changes after we leave, after I've said these lineup cards are official, will come with a penalty. And if there is a change after that, if a coach says, oh, they got the wrong number, they come up, let's say they come up to bat and they have the wrong number, okay, we change the number, the girl goes, still bats, we change the number on both cards, but the coach has a warning. Now, at that time, make sure that he makes any other changes. Say, coaches, are there any other changes? Because you just warned him. Do we have any other changes? Do you need to add somebody? Is there any other numbers that are wrong? Do it then, because if they get a second warning, now the coach gets restricted and the player gets restricted. So we want to take care of any changes during that coaches meeting before we say they're officials, and after we say they're official, give them one more chance to make any other changes after you've given them that warning. So once we get them those back, and at that point in time, I say, coaches, are your teams properly and legally equipped? They need to respond affirmatively. Make them say yes. And usually I ask them individually, coach, are your teams properly and legally equipped? They respond, yes. Coach, are you properly and legally equipped? Make them, don't just let them shake their head, make them respond yes, because they need to be properly and legally equipped. Okay, any questions about that part? All right.
One more thing, Harold, interrupt. They can wear jewelry this year.
Okay,
They can do that. I don't know if it's gonna cover that or not, but.
not in this session.
Okay.
Yep. So, we're there. Now, the other items that I wanna do before we leave that coaches meeting, I want to go over the timing issue. So I'll do the run rule just as a reminder to them. In our high school softball, it's 15 after 3, 10 after 5. Once you hit those run rules, that's the game. Until you hit those run rules, if it's 30 runs in the second inning, you gotta keep playing. And then you also clarify the tiebreaker rule. And most of the times, you just say, and we'll do 7 innings, and if we're tied, we'll have a tiebreaker. And if both coaches agree, that's fine, because that really helps shorten the game. If either one of those coaches says, I do not want to do a tiebreaker, you have to play the game out. So you could play 14 innings, you could play until somebody wins the game. In tournaments, those will all be specified in the timing, how long you play, how many innings you play, and the tiebreaker will be designated for those specific tournaments, and they can all be different. What I'm talking about is a regular season game. And then once you get into the playoffs, you don't have an option of a tiebreaker. You play it out till you have a winner. The other thing that I specify at our coaches meeting is how are we gonna handle disputes and questions? Remember, first of all, only the head coach can do that. And here's what I tell them. It's pretty much this verbatim. Coaches, balls and strikes, safes and outs are my and my partner's calls. We're not gonna debate those, discuss those, and argue those. If you have a question about the application of a rule or the interpretation of a rule during the play, after play is stopped, the ball's back into the circle, you request time. Wait until I grant time. Once I grant time, then we'll get together and we'll talk about the situation just like we're having a discussion here. We're not gonna be yelling at each other. We're gonna discuss what it is, and as umpires, we're gonna listen to what their concerns are. Sometimes I may have to get with my partner and we discuss that. If you need to get with your partner, do that privately. Don't have a conversation right in front of the coach. Go with your partner and talk about what the situation is. You two figure out what's the best way to handle the situation, and then go back and address it with the coach. And then once you've addressed that, you hope that's the end of it. Because as an umpire, you do have if umpires continue to complain, if they complain about balls and strikes, you can restrict them right away. They shouldn't be complaining about balls and strikes, shouldn't question balls and strikes, don't even discuss balls and strikes with them. If the coach comes walking by you and says, boy, I thought that was outside, I don't respond. If they stop and make a point out and says, coach, we're not going to discuss balls and strikes. okay? We're not gonna, safes and outs, both of those, and balls and strikes are judgment calls. They're not appealable calls. If a coach asks for help on a pulled foot, the umpire that made the initial call is the one that asked for help from their partner. Let that happen.
And that umpire makes that call.
And then
also.
whatever the decision is, then that umpire that made the original call then makes that call. Okay? But you don't have to tell the coaches that in the coaches meeting. What you're basically telling them is, look, we're not gonna argue balls and strikes, safes and outs. If there's a rule interpretation, we'll get together and we'll discuss it, just as we're discussing that.
How are they gonna argue about it? They can't argue about that.
Hey, Harold,
There's not much.
Harold, one way they do about balls and strikes, not ask you about them, what they'll do is ask the catcher, say, where was that pitch at? She says yes or no, and I usually tell that catcher, I said, if you tell him it's a strike or something, I said, everything's gonna be a ball from now on.
Well, you don't have to respond to any of that.
That's right.
Okay? You don't have to respond to any of that. So after I tell them that, then the last thing I tell them is reminders. Help us with foul balls. If somebody's not chasing foul balls, you're gonna run out of balls and you're gonna be standing there waiting for a new game ball to come into play. So ask those coaches to ask the players to help run down foul balls and get them back into play. And then the other thing I remind them is there's 1 minute between innings. Coach, when that last out's made, you've got 1 minute before your pitcher needs to be ready to pitch. If you allow that to just go on and on and on, outside of that 1 minute, you're gonna be there for a long time. Okay, so have that 1 minute. Apply that.
Yeah, I
and
think
then-
William said that last week, the first inning, pretty well give them 5 pitches. Thereafter, it's 1 minute.
That's
And
right.
it could be a few seconds after, but you know, I think college now has got 90 seconds, but you know,
They got a stopwatch too.
yeah.
We don't. So you need to, in your mind, somehow keep up with the time. And if you don't consciously try to do that, 2 or 3 minutes can run by in a hurry. I know Whitey's out there with the stopwatch sometimes, timing how much time's in between innings, and, 3, 4, 5 minutes sometimes, so, get an internal clock to do that.
You can also tell your catcher, hey, you got five them down, and let them know also.
That's right, that's right. So after that, then, let's play ball. Any questions on any of that? Not yet?
Not yet.
Another way, Harold, you can, do things like speed processor. When you say batter up, they got 10 seconds to be in there. If they don't, you got a strike.
That's right, that's right, that's
Then the
right.
pitcher's got 20 seconds to deliver the pitch, or you've got an automatic ball on the batter.
That's right. And those will come later, and there's not really a need to tell them that during that coaches meeting. What you're doing though is you're emphasizing you've got 1 minute. As we're about to start the season, we have cold weather, we do have some jurisdiction to allow more than 5 pitches to warm up, just so we don't get a player injured because she hadn't had time to sufficiently get her arm loose. But again, you're in charge of that as a home plate umpire. The home plate umpire runs that meeting. You as a field umpire, you're there, you're just a listener, unless the plate umpire asks you if you have any input. And I always ask my field umpire when I'm behind the plate if they have anything to add, because maybe I forgot something there. Or maybe there's something that we need to reinforce because of situations we've had in the past with particular teams. Key thing is, make that meeting, be prepared for that meeting. When I first started calling, I had a little index card outline that I made sure that I covered each one of those sections. Now I can pretty much, I don't need my index card, but when I first started, I did. And sometimes I even forget some of that just based on the situation. But be prepared, have the meeting be concise and straightforward, be organized, and you be professional. That's the key.
Very good.
I'm gonna take you to the field after that, so. And y'all have to excuse my drawing, I'm not a drawer. I've never been a draftsman. So, two things I was gonna hit on that, while I set this up. One thing is the plate umpire. Plate umpire has 2 bags on. In tournaments, you will have about 3 balls to keep up with. You'll have 2 balls, 1 bag, 1 in the other, whatever. That's the plate umpire. Field umpire, and I see it. I know y'all seen it. Field umpire, there's no reason to have a ball bag on in the field. When they throw the ball back into the field, if you're standing at first base, they throw it in, you don't need a bag to put a ball in. You don't have it. Call timeout, throw it back up there to the plate umpire. What else was it? On the balls and strikes too, out of courtesy, when I'm behind the plate, if that ball's outside, I call it a ball, and that coach questions, where was that pitch? I'm not touching the player, all I'll say is, the ball's outside. She can then relay that message to that coach, coach, it was outside. She may be sitting up outside, she may catch it outside. You call it a ball, sometimes she'll look at me and say, I set up outside, it was a ball. That's all I'm gonna say. All right, we're leaving our plate meeting. Our home plate umpire, say our home team's over here. That's our home team, that's our visitor team. The home team's gonna go on the field. Our visitor team's gonna be out here batting, right? Okay, we're gonna have no more than 1 person outside that dugout with a bat in their hand. We don't want 2 or 3, 4 or 5, the whole team, we want 1 at stake. We don't want several of them out there swinging a bat, one of them may get hit in the eye. One of them may get hit in the eye with a bat, guess what? We let them out there and they gonna call us and say, why did y'all let all them people out there? 1 on deck batter between innings. Alright? And you'll hear the coach say this too. Well, that ain't no stuff. I can't. Yeah, you fix it. Anyway, the coach is gonna say, well, my leadoff batter is right here, and this is my on deck batter. No, sir. Your leadoff batter is your on deck batter until she comes to the plate. That's my on deck batter. When she comes to the plate, my next batter in line can step out there and start getting loose. Alright? What we're gonna do is a plate umpire, ain't got enough room. But we have what they call first base extended and third base extended. I don't know if y'all can see that. But while they're out there warming up with their bats, if they're on this side of the field with the bats in their hands, we're gonna go from home plate at an angle, we're gonna be somewhere down in here about 8-10 feet, okay, behind home plate, looking at that team warming up with their bats, swinging bats. That way, we know how many batters they got out there, okay? Not letting them more than 1 out there. Our plate umpire, as soon as we break our home plate meeting, he's gonna go to the pitcher's mound, and he's gonna turn, and I've done it, and nobody wants to see it. But when you run out there to the pitcher's mound, home plate's up here, do not bend over and show everybody out there your rear end. Nobody wants to see your rear end. Turn around, face on the plate, bend over, and wipe that plate off. Okay? After you wipe the plate off, you're going somewhere out here in the grass, and your job is to stand there and watch the pitcher, if she's pitching illegal or not, see how she's throwing, watching the ball in the infield and all that. That's your sole job. You're not doing anything but watching that, okay? If a pitcher's gonna pitch illegal, she'll do it during her warm-ups. Watch that. As soon as we call ball in, and there again, what I'll do is after that 5 pitches or whatever, of course, cold weather, in the cold weather, I'll ask that catcher, ask your pitcher if she's ready to go. I'll give her ample time during cold weather to get warmed up. She'll holler out there and say, hey, are you ready? She says yes, throw it down. She's gonna throw it down to second, okay? That's when we're gonna take our position behind home plate. Now we're gonna move over here 8 to 10 feet down the first base line in foul territory. Right? Right. That's how we're gonna start the game. Nobody on, first pitch of the game. If a ball's hit the infield, all throws in the infield, first throws in the infield are always the base umpire's call, right? Ball's hit the shortstop, we're gonna come in somewhere in here, not to get interfering with that play. We're gonna get us an angle to see that play and that throw. And we're gonna watch that throw all the way from, say, the third baseman to first base. We come in, we see that throw, we got our call, out. If it's an obvious out, and we gotta use our voice, out, and that's it. If it's a bang bang call, we'll punch him out. If it's a safe call, safe. Safe is not down here or up here. Safe is from chest straight out and then back in. Okay? Our outs, strikes are always hammered. Right up here. Okay? The reason we do that, and of course balls and strikes, you got balls, 3 balls, 2 strikes. Strikes and outs are our friends. We get paid by outs and strikes. We use our right hand because that's our money hand. I got an out, that's 37 cents for that 1 out in this ball. The next one I got 74 cents. Every out you get, you got money going in your pocket. Saves, you don't get paid for saves. But call what you say. Alright, that's how we're gonna
You were
start.
serious right there, weren't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Son, where's Sonny? Ask Sonny when he gets back in here, say, what, if it's a bang bang call, Sonny, what do you got? And he's gonna tell you, he ain't gonna make it. Anyway. Alright, that's what, nobody got on
Well,
whatever.
hey, William, that's what me and Mark Wallace talked about this last weekend and last night actually at a basketball game. If you don't know they're safe, they're out. And I mean, that's the way you look at it when you're making a call. If you can't see that they were safe, they were out. So, I mean, that's just.
Alright, now what you
something
play,
gotta go by.
what your play umpire doing is he's coming in, making that call at first base. Our play umpire is not just standing there with his mask on, seeing what's going on.
It comes down the line about 40, 45 feet.
That plate umpire is gonna release to his left, out behind the catcher. The catcher's right here. We're gonna come behind the catcher. We're gonna come down that line. This is a running lane, and that should be on every field. Okay, we got running lanes, violations and stuff, and we'll go over it later. He's gonna come down to about right before that running lane. He carries that runner to that position. He's gonna jog down behind her, stop, and he's watching that first baseman's foot. That's all he's doing. Cause that ain't my call at first base, that's his call. Now, if she pulls her foot, and they ask me, did she pull her foot or not? Well, I know because I was looking at that foot, right? Otherwise, that's all his call. After that, we're gonna look at each other. I usually look at my partner and say, I got 1 out. Just make sure we all know how many outs we got, right? Next play, we're gonna have a runner at first. There's your runner. That's called the A position, I'm sorry. That's the A position. Now we're gonna be in the B position. The B position is gonna be if you got a runner on first. Okay? You got a runner on first base, you're gonna be off the left shoulder of the second baseman. Usually, you're not gonna be no further than an arm's length away from it. Don't be way back on the edge of the grass, you're too far from the plate. Move up to her. What I do is I usually sit there and I stand up, relax, see where she's gonna move into her position at, then I'll move up and get ready, okay? Let me go back and say in the A position, we're standing up. I know I'm going fast. In the A position, we're standing up, we're watching the pitcher. When she cranks back to pitch the ball, we're walking the line, okay? We're watching that pitcher throw that ball home plate. The best way to do it, I always start out on my left foot. So 1, 2, 3, that ball's at the plate. Now I can push off and go to the inside if I need to. Okay? Always walking the line. That's the A position. Walk the line every pitch. She throws the ball, it's a ball. And you can back up 8 to 10 feet. Get on the indicator, you got ball 1. Next pitch is coming, same thing. She hits the ball, now I'm going in, get my angle, set play. B position, you're gonna be off the left shoulder of the second baseman, no more than an arm's length, don't be too deep. And what you're gonna look for, ball's hit to the shortstop, You're gonna sit there in that position, hold your position, see where the ball is, and track that ball. Common sense says that runner's gonna, she's gonna throw that ball to second, right? Common sense says she's gonna get that force out. These girls ain't got common sense.
That's right.
Half the time, you're sitting there and you're focusing on second base to see this play, well, she decided to throw to first. Now I gotta turn around, I don't know if she's out or safe. That's why we track the ball with our eyes, okay? So she throws the ball to second. We got that call, and if they try to double play, right behind the second baseman there, off her shoulder, I can turn right here, see that call, she throws to first, I can pivot around, I got that call, okay? We got runners at first and second. Now we're gonna be in the C position, which is off the shortstop's shoulder this time. Same thing, no more than an arm's length. We're looking for the throw in the infield. Ball's hit to the third baseman. We can see that play at third base as she steps on third. And she throws over to first. I know it's a long throw and it's a long call. But what I do is, when I see that step on first, third base, and she's gonna throw it to first, I'm watching her. I'll start moving that way, watching that ball. I'll make my call here. I may have seen it back there. But see how I shortened the distance up, made it look like I was closer than what I was? I mean, how do you say that? When the ball's thrown across the diamond, if you know what's going over there, start going, call it out, and take a couple more steps before you stop. That shortens up your distance. The coach is not gonna argue with you if you look like you know you're hustling and stuff. Now, we have usually. We got a runner on first base, ball's hit to the outfield. Plate umpire, he's gonna have this call at third base. This base umpire here, he's gonna come in, he's gonna release her, go wherever she needs to. That's gonna be his call. You're gonna pick up the batter runner. We'll go over all that later stuff as far as what we're covering and stuff. I'm just trying to hit that pretty quick. One of the things we're gonna look at when we get in the field too, we'll go over that. We're gonna look for our 16-foot circle around the pitcher's mound. You gotta have a 16-foot circle. You gotta have a running lane, okay? What else? Usually batter's boxes are gonna be 7 in front, 3 in the back. How is that? 7?
4 and 3.
4 and 3 sevens, right? Make a 10-foot box. And slappers around. 4 foot in the front, 3 in the back.
That's from the back corner of the plate, not the point, but the back corner. 4 feet forward from there and 3 feet back from there.
Another thing, if they don't have the field lined off, the running lane, you can make them, but I mean, if there's no, they don't have any chalk, they don't have nothing, you know, you just report it to the board.
Report it to us and we'll make sure.
We'll make sure they take care of the next game.
Biggest thing, communication when you're behind the plate with your field official. If I've got an infield fly rule on or not, we need to be looking at each other. If one official gives a signal for infield fly, which is this, then that other official should be giving that same signal back. Both officials can call an infield fly. Usually the base umpire, of course, he's back here, he can see what's up in the infield popped up. He can see it and he'll point straight up in the air. That way the plate umpire can see that he's pointing up that it's still in the infield, he can go ahead and call it. Infield fly rules, of course, we'll go over those later. After the inning's over, plate umpire, so now the home team's batting, the plate umpire's gonna be down here in his holding area, for third baseline extended. The base umpire's gonna come in, gotta wipe that pitching rubber off. So you wipe that pitching rubber off, go right back out and start doing your grazing again. It's what we call it, grazing. And a cold day, it's cold grazing. Any questions about that? And I know it's quick and all, but, what's your phone number, Earl?
256-443-3267. While he's writing that down, one of the things I forgot on that pregame meeting was, the ground rules. We give the home team coach the ability to tell us the ground rules. So he's gonna point out any holes, we're gonna talk about any way the backstop may come into play. We're gonna talk about how you play it off of the dugouts. You wanna clarify all of that at that meeting, and I forgot to mention that, it's not even on the sheet, but you wanna have an opportunity at your coaches meeting for the coach to talk about the ground rules, and then you can get all the dead ball situations ironed out during that time. And then the other thing is, as I mentioned earlier, that 15 minutes when you go on the field, that's the time you wanna check those markings on the field to make sure they're correct. Because we have had tournaments, at the Florence complex, because they play all their youth leagues, where the dimensions haven't been correct. The pitcher's plate's been short, we've had times when the pitching circle's not correct. Muscle Shoals used to have a hard time with the batter's box, they had it 3 and 3. So you need to check those things so you can correct those before you start the game, but that's the time to do it.
I'm gonna hit rule 1 real quick. First off, softball rule changes and stuff. Rule 141 removes a number of color restrictions on a glove, okay? Self-explanatory, you don't want a pitcher out there with a glove with a big yellow pocket. The glove pocket and this ball where it went to, you don't want them confusing that pocket with that ball, okay? So that restricts that. Let's see, I'm just gonna hit a few of them. Removes language prohibiting wearing jewelry. They can wear jewelry now, okay? So that's no big deal. We're not the fashion police. This one right here was kinda, me and Russell kinda talked about it last. A fair ball that is batted, that while over fair territory, an offensive player interferes with a defensive player attempting to field the ball. That's on the end of next week's rule, we'll cover that, and of course the other two are next week too. Point of emphasis, sportsmanship. Guys, it's like Harold said, when I'm at that plate meeting, and I'm conducting my plate meeting, I'm telling the coaches, guys, if you have any questions about a rule interpretation, call timeout, come out, and we'll talk like we are right now. I mean, he's gonna show me that, or he or she's gonna show me the same respect that I would want, they would want from me. We're gonna talk in a calm voice, maybe a little like, settle down, coach, let's talk about it. You settle down, we're gonna talk about it. Time between the innings, y'all see that point of emphasis? 1 minute. Me and Sonny had a game last year, and Central got mad at us because he said he didn't have enough time to coach his girls. Well, he had his whole team over there between the innings instead of getting his pitcher and catcher warmed up. Well, by the time they broke their huddle, the minute's gone, let's play. But all he had to do is put his pitcher and catcher out there and get her ready, and talk to his fielders, and they can be ready when we call balls in.
And you can solve some of that by just telling them, coach, I need a pitcher and a catcher immediately. Try to get them out there.
All right.
They want a huddle or whatever.
Jewelry and electronic communication, of course, that's point of emphasis, we do the jewelry now. Comparable drying agents, they'll come out there with rosin bags and stuff. Nothing wrong with picking up a rosin bag, you don't have to wipe your hand off after you pick up a rosin bag. You pick up dirt off the ground, you gotta act like you're wiping it off, okay? Alright, rule 1, field equipment, bases 60 feet apart for a 12-inch ball, 60 feet bases, okay, that's all we got. In fast pitch, the rear tip of home plate, the front edge of the pitcher's plate should be 43 feet. So from the back of the home plate to that pitching rug right there, it's 43 feet, okay? 16-foot circle, gonna be drawn. We have that because of the look back rule. We'll go over the look back rule a bit later. Catcher box, base coaches box, batter box, at a 3-foot running lane shall be marked. I don't know that everybody marks the catcher's box. They gotta have batter's boxes. Usually, they've got worn out areas out there on the field where their coaching boxes are, okay? But we gotta have that. While on deck circle does not have to be occupied, a player desiring to warm up shall use that area provided safely away from home plate. Neither team's players shall warm up in the other team's on deck circle. Junior high's coming up, they're leaving Dixie Youth, they're leaving USSSA. We've got a home team batting and we got a left-handed batter for the home team, do not let that girl walk around and get behind that batter. She has no business. She don't play for that team. Keep her on her side. Same way with the visitors. You got a right-handed batter. Don't let that girl go behind that batter. That ain't her place. She stays on her side. Okay. Let's see. Any game started on a non-regulation facility shall not be protested for this reason. All right. Let's see. Once a game is started, it's discovered or brought to the attention of the umpire that the pitching distance, base distance, or batter boxes are incorrect. The correction shall be made immediately. If they figure out, man, that ain't 43 feet from home plate to that pitcher's mound, or the bases are too short, we go out there, we look at it. If we gotta fix it, we fix it. We don't go back to any one and start all over. We continue the game from that point on. Okay? Most teams around here are good about that. Most teams are set. The only problem that we do have is over there at Florence with their pitching circuit. Pay attention to that. Page 8 and 9, it just goes over the diagrams of the field and stuff. Bases and plates, bases and plates, section 2, may be designed to disengage from their anchor system. That's a safety thing. Some bases are in the ground with a big metal stop. So when a girl slides into it, that's where they stop. Cobb County, I know they got breakaway bases. They can have breakaway bases. They get aggravated when they slide into first base or third base and the base goes over toward the dugout. You gotta go get the base, put it back over there. But they can have that. The pitcher's plate, rectangular slab, whitened rubber, substitute 24 inches by 6 inches. That is important on the pitcher's plate because you can have an illegal pitch if they're outside that 24, okay? So we gotta know that. The ball shall be optic yellow. All right, we're on section 3 softball. Pass this around, let y'all look at it. This is an official game ball. It should have 47 core, 375 compression, and an NFHS marking on it. All Wilson balls have that. They have a contract with these high schools in Alabama. If you get a Wilson ball and it don't have that on there, then they just took $8 from that coach because it's supposed to be there. Make sure we read that too. We're on gloves and mitts. Not have optic color marking on the outside to give the appearance of the ball. Like I said, a yellow pocket. You know, don't do that, okay? We'll get that gloves, coach, you can't pitch with that glove on. Why not? Well, it's got a yellow pocket, the ball is yellow, we'll have to get her a different glove. Different bud. An illegal glove or mitt shall be replaced immediately. If we're out there in the first inning and she's got that glove on, time, coach, we gotta have another glove. She's got yellow markings on her glove, and they should, take care of it right then. If not, then we can issue warnings, okay? But we're not gonna try to cheat the other team, so to speak. We want everything to be as fair as we can. All right, section 5 bats. Section 5 bats should be free of rattles, dents, burrs, cracks, sharp edges, and anything that might deface the ball. These bats are considered damaged or removed from the game without penalty. During the course of the game, if a bat's laying on the field, we don't touch bats. Let me say that too. If a bat's laying on the field behind home plate, that ain't my job to reach in there and pick up that bat and give it to the next girl. Let them pick it up, okay? But if it happens to come up, if that bat's cracked or anything like that, we get rid of it. Put it out of the dugout. We can't use that bat anymore. One reason, it may break, barrel half of it may hit somebody in the face. We don't want that. They should bear either the 2000, 2004, or the USA softball all-game certification. That's on page 13. It's an embossed logo and stickers. Now, they should have those on there, and they should be, and the coach is gonna tell us they're legally and properly equipped. So they should be on there. If in the course of the game they say, hey, that's an illegal bat, we look at it, and we decide if it's legal or not, so we can see those markings. Here's the fun part. You visit usasoftball.com. I looked at it yesterday on my phone. These are the non-approved bats that they have decided you can't play high school softball with these bats in. for whatever reason. And the list on that is like 20 pages of bats they cannot use. And you look at the ones that they can, and it's about 10. So get familiar with the ones that they can use, and if you see one that they can't, get rid of it. Batting helmets, should have the Noxay symbol on the helmet. They should be worn while the ball is live and in live ball territory. Girl gets put out at first base, they call her out. Don't let her pull her helmet off and go to that dugout. Keep your helmet on until you get in that dugout, okay? If she does it again, then you can give some warnings. Coach, get a team warning, she keeps taking her helmet off. Don't let her take that helmet off without being in that dugout, or dead ball territory. Batting helmets should have extended ear flaps, cover both ears and temples. Helmets that are broken, cracked, dented, or have been altered or prohibited. If they come up here to the plate with a mask on that helmet and it's loose, they got 2 screws missing, get that helmet out of there. That's a damaged helmet. All fast pitch batting helmets shall be equipped with a Noxay approved face protector. They should be attached to the mask, to the helmet. Most teams around here have that, and we're good on that. Catchers should wear catcher's helmet, mask combination, meets the Noxay standard. Again, coach is gonna tell us whether they're properly legally equipped when we start. Any non-adult warming up a pitcher at any location within the confines of the field shall wear an approved catcher's helmet and mask combination or throat protector. If you're out there on the field and in between innings, a girl comes out there and she's gonna warm up that pitcher because the catcher was the last one to bat, she has to have a catcher's mask on. She can't have a fielder's mask, and she can't have a bat helmet. That's not a catcher's mask. If you see it, hey, go get a catcher's mask. Well, I'm just warming her up. I don't care. You can't do it with that mask on. Coaches can go out there and warm up without a mask. We ain't worried about them. A lot of times I wish a couple of them get hit in the eye anyway. Alright. Other equipment, defective equipment that should be repaired and replaced immediately. If we have to get any defective equipment shall be repaired or replaced immediately. Anything that you can do in a quick manner to get a helmet fixed or whatever, if they can do it in a timely manner, let them do it real quick. If not, get it out of there, get us another helmet. We're not gonna hold up the game because they gotta go to Lowe's and pick up 3 screws. Defensive players are prevented to wear face or head protection. That's the little fielder's mask. They can wear those, they don't have to wear it. If an eye shield is worn or attached, it cannot be, let's say, face or head protection worn, but shall have a non-glare, non-mirror-like outer surface. It can't be a tinted shield. It can be a clear shield if they're wearing that face mask out there in the field. The reason being, if a girl pitches, throws the ball, gets hit straight up the middle in the face, she collapses, we gotta be able to see her eyes. We wanna know whether she's knocked out on the ground, or what's going on with that girl's condition. With a tinted shield, you can't tell, okay? Don't let them wear those. All equipment shall be worn properly by the manufacturer. Any equipment judged by the umpire to be potentially dangerous is illegal. Proper uniforms, these uniforms and stuff, if they got sleeves on their uniform that comes down to here, don't let them roll them up the hill. They gotta be worn the way the manufacturer has designed. If they're supposed to be tucked in, tuck them in. It's pretty simple. The use of electronic devices by team personnel to transmit and record information pertaining to players or team performance shall be permitted within the team's dugout, bench area only. Information obtained from an electronic device may be used for coaching purposes only during the game. You may have a coach in the dugout with an iPad and he's videoing and he's watching us play at third base, and you call the girl out in between innings, he comes out there and, hey, look at this, I want you to see this. Coach, get back in the dugout. We don't use that and try to overthrow a call. He knows that. He's just trying to show you, put his butt in the dugout, okay? All they can do with that is say, well, we can do this right here to do, for coaching purposes is what we need it for, okay? Any questions on Rule 1 real quick?
I got it.
Give me that.
Back when you said about the rosin and the dirt, is the dirt a new rule? Is that a change?
The dirt,
Cause I know last year we had that question, and you know, we called Eddie about it, and, you know, and Eddie called way up above him, and they said,
the dirt's not.
you
going
could pick
to-
up the dirt,
Yep.
you had to drop the dirt, but you didn't have to wipe it off. You couldn't put the dirt in your hand with the ball,
Okay,
a puff, you know, you couldn't throw a dirt ball. As long as you scoop up the dirt, shake it around her hand or whatever, and drops the dirt, she did not have to wipe off the dirt.
But a rosin bag you do.
No,
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 Rosenberg, you
You
don't,
don't.
no.
you don't at all.
Is that a change? That's what I'm asking, because we did have that question last year.
It's still a foreign substance.
Yeah.
No, it's not, not unless they changed it.
Well,
But here's what the rule says, is dirt is not a foreign substance. You can put your hand down, you don't have to wipe it off. You cannot pick up a handful of dirt and rub it on the ball. The pitcher can't do that, but they can put dirt on their hand, and they're not required to wipe it off.
That's what they said last year.
That's right.
We did have that
If you
question.
put a handful of dirt on the ball, you have to be balling it, right?
Well,
That's what I do.
Rock rosin's illegal, right?
all time,
it's an illegal.
I got a legal pitch,
Right, illegal.
so she's doctoring the ball.
Right, and then throw the ball.
And then you, hey, throw me that ball, we'll swap out the ball, and then I'll take that ball and wipe it off and put it back in my bag.
Right.
She does it again, I'm probably gonna get it, either an inspection or a warning or something.
Yeah.
That's a warning, when she does that, that is a warning, it's an illegal pitch and it's a
Yeah.
warning.
Well, you know, they don't have to be balling, they throw this through.
So, there we go, to clarify, the pitcher gets the ball back from the catcher, and her hand's sweaty because it's hot, and 80 degrees out there. She reaches down and picks up dirt and drops it, and then goes to the pitcher rubber, she's good.
Yeah.
If she reaches down and picks up dirt and keeps it in her hand and steps on that pitcher rubber and her hands come together, that is an illegal pitch, because she's still got a handful of dirt, right? Now, the rosin bag, just a little white bag, everybody's seen it's chalk. She can pick it up, toss it around her hand, and go straight to pitch.
But it can't be the hard rock.
Yeah, the rock rosin.
Yeah, what? The hard rock.
Hard rock
is rosin.
Yeah,
There's
that's
two
good.
different types.
That'd be
Two
bad.
different powder, not
Yeah,
hard.
little something.
All right, any other questions?
Good.
Now, this year, you'll see a lot of pitchers go to the Gorilla towels. I don't think AHSAA has touched on that, but everybody else says treat the Gorilla towels like you would resin.
What is a gorilla towel?
It's, I don't see how they can use it, but a lot of people started using it last year. All it is a little bitty towel, and it's got a sticky substance on it that they're calling resin, but to me, it feels like rock resin. When I get it on my fingertips, I can't wipe it off.
Right.
As far as I know, everybody else is allowed Gorilla towels. I don't know what AHSAA says about it.
They was trying to make these meetings as brief as we could.
Anything else?
Anybody got a question?
You mentioned a while ago on that line drive, it hits that, you know, that pitcher's mask.
Yeah.
Okay, so she knocks her down. Do you kill it right then? Right
Yes.
then?
Yes,
What if
anything,
what if it happens to be a region game, say over in Florence or
I'm
something?
gonna kill it.
You're gonna kill it right then?
Safety trumps
I agree.
anything.
I agree.
Okay? I mean, if they get on to me for killing a play in a big game, so be it. I'm more concerned about that girl.
That's right.
All right, now, let's get back to that. Girl gets hit in the face, an arm, or whatever, she collapses straight to the ground. Dead ball. I'm not worried about what's going on out there, I'm worried about that kid on the ground and why she's on the ground, and we're gonna go out there and check on her.
What you gonna do if you run?
A runner, it's a dead ball, nobody can pass. It's a dead ball, nobody can pass. The batter can go first, but nobody else can go any
But
further.
if they're forced, they go.
Right? Now, dead ball, if the pitcher gets hit in the knee or the shin, and she's stumbling around like this, and she reaches down to pick it up, I've got nothing, she's making a play on the ball. As Soon as that play's over with, then I'll call time and make sure she's okay.
Okay, like he was talking about, William, okay, so the bases was loaded, okay, it hits right there, you kill it. That batter, a run's got to score right there, right?
Yeah, yeah, bases loaded, if you got runners first and third, you got a dead ball, that runner can't move from third to home, because she's not forced. Runner from first can go to second, the batter can go to first.
Right.
But you killed it, nobody else can advance. Now,
Well-
the bases are loaded, well,
If a runner gets hit by the ball in front of the fielder,
it's a dead ball.
it's a dead ball, but what else is it?
Out.
And out.
It's an out.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll cover that too later with the ball.
Yeah, we got.
So in bases loaded situation, that runs not scoring.
Right, everybody been on have everybody registered, everybody's registered and ready to go, everybody's got all their equipment and everything's, but y'all ready to go out and mark all ball
Yeah,
games?
I got the books, if you haven't got a book, I got the books.
If you've registered, go ahead and take your test.
Yeah, you have to pay that $60 now. This is sort of a little practice test we got, so if you got a camera with you on your phone, you should have, you take a picture of these and they'll hit you, I think.
Go ahead and take your
Pass
test.
that around before we get out of here.
Take-
We're trying to get Giant out of here as quick as we can.
Go ahead and take your test, if you fail it, don't worry about it, you got your rule book, you're gonna take it again, try with your rule book, do both times with the rule book. If you fail it the second time, do not take it the third time. Get with somebody up here and we will help you take that test and get you passed.
The app has a test too on
The app's got tests on it,
it,
but,
practice exams.
but,
I didn't know that.
yeah, it does.
Alright, anything else?
Next week, 5:30.
This is Harold's phone number, that's my phone number, anything that y'all can think of during the course of the year, after tonight's meeting, about late meeting, anything like that, if y'all wanna call one of us, Kimmy Dale keeps my phone busy during softball season. I don't mind talking to you and explaining stuff to you. We want everybody to be on the same page, alright?
We got,
Oh, by the way, this is Scotty Nichols, this is our vice
Yeah.
president.
yeah. Our other
He
people-
showed up this evening.
But anyway, also, when I was trying to think of, next week, we'll have the training on,
Yeah.
it won't be dragging on, so you'll have actually more minutes to,
Probably go over more meetings.
yeah, because we're,